At the family dinner, my parents said, "You never help this family." I just smiled. Maybe you're right. 3 weeks later, my brother texted, "Why isn't the rent paid?" I said, "Because I never helped this family. I'm Melody Reed." That dinner hit like a gut punch, but I kept my cool. Dad stared straight at me and dropped the line, Mom nodding right along like it was scripted. The table went dead quiet, no one backed me up, not even a cough. I scanned their faces, replaying years of quietly covering everything from rent to emergencies, but I bit my tongue. Instead, I grinned, pushed back my chair, grabbed my keys, and walked out without a word. Drove straight to my apartment blocked numbers and let the silence build. What came next? Their world started cracking fast. Smash that subscribe button if you've ever been the family's invisible wallet. Hit the bell so you don't miss how this drama explodes in the next part. 3 weeks went by without a single call. I threw myself into freelance graphic design gigs, pulling all-nighters to meet deadlines for clients across the country. My apartment became a fortress of screens and coffee mugs, and for the first time in years, the only bills on my mind were my own. I blocked every family number the night I left, figuring silence would speak louder than any argument. It did until Dylan Reed, my younger brother, slipped through from an unknown number. His text popped up mid-morning while I was tweaking a logo for a startup in Seattle. Rents due tomorrow. Why nothing in the account? I stared at the screen, thumbs hovering, then typed back, "Because I never helped this family." Send. No follow-up, no emoji. Just that. He read it immediately, but didn't reply. The apartment they lived in was under my name, a two-bedroom near the Ohio State campus that I'd been covering for over 2 years. $2,200 every month, auto-drafted from my checking account, without fail. On top of that, the joint credit card I'd added them to years ago when Dad lost his warehouse job to online sports betting sites. Mom used it for endless Amazon hauls, kitchen gadgets, clothes, whatever caught her eye during late-night scrolls. Dad racked up charges on fantasy leagues, and quick-pick parlays, always promising the next win would cover it. I paid the minimums, watched the balance climb, and never complained, because family doesn't keep score. Right, wrong. Dad broke the radio silence first with an email from his old work address. Subject line, temporary, help needed. The body was short. No greeting, no apology. Things are tight until I land something steady. Can you float the rent one more month? Appreciate it. I read it twice, felt nothing, and hit delete without archiving. Block the email too. Mom tried next, a string of texts that started polite and spiraled. First, "We're all under pressure here." Then family says things in the heat of the moment, followed by a voice note I didn't play, just saw the waveform and swiped away. She ended with a photo of the empty fridge, caption, "Groceries are low." I left her on read. Work kept me grounded. A big contract came in for a local brewery's rebrand, new labels, website, banners, the works. I negotiated higher rates knowing every dollar now stayed in my pocket. Nights blurred into mornings, but the quiet was golden. No emergency calls about car repairs or utility shutoffs. No guilt trips disguised as updates. Dylan stayed quiet after that one text, probably caught in the middle like always. I wondered if he'd started picking up extra shifts at the campus bookstore, but I didn't ask. The joint card statements stopped coming to my inbox after I removed their Access Online simple toggle in the bank app. Balance due 0 for the first time in forever. Dad sent one more email from a new Gmail subject, "Quick question." I didn't open it, just marked as spam. Mom switched to voicemail 3 in a row, each longer than the last. I deleted them unheard. The rent due date passed. Landlord probably left a notice on the door, but no one forwarded it to me. I kept designing, invoicing, depositing. My savings account ticked upward for the first time since college. The silence from their end grew heavier, but I refused to break it. They'd built their lives on my backup plan, and now the plan was gone. That same night, my phone buzzed with photos from Dylan. The first image showed the living room cluttered with plastic prototypes, tiny keychains, phone stands, custom figurines stacked on the coffee table. The second zoomed in on my 3D printer, the one I'd left in the hallway closet when I moved out last year. $3,000 of professional-grade equipment essential for client mock-ups and rapid prototyping. Nash, my cousin, who'd been crashing on their couch for months, stood grinning behind it, filament spool in hand. Dylan's caption, "He's printing stuff to sell on Etsy," said you wouldn't mind. I zoomed closer, saw the machine humming layers, building a miniature race car. No permission asked, no heads up. Just assumed it was fair game because it was under their roof. I grabbed my keys and drove the 15 minutes across town traffic light for a weeknight. The apartment building looked the same, faded brick buzzing entry light, but everything inside had shifted. I let myself in with the spare key. I still had the one I'd never returned. Voices drifted from the kitchen, Dad laughing at something Nash said, Mom asking about shipping labels. The printer whirred in the corner, red light blinking as another job queued. Nash looked up first when I stepped in surprise, flashing across his face, before he recovered with a shrug. "Hey, cuz. Borrowed your toy. Making bank already, sold 5 pieces this afternoon." I didn't respond, just unplugged the machine. Mid-print, the fan winding down with a sad whine. Mom appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand. "Melody, what are you doing here?" I coiled the power cord, neatly lifted the printer into its travel case. Dad followed, voice rising. "That's family property now. We're using it to get back on track." I ignored him, scanned the room for anything else mine, an external hard drive on the shelf, a stack of blank filament boxes I'd bought in bulk. Nash stepped forward, arms crossed. "Come on, you're not seriously taking it. I've got orders lined up." I zipped the case, slung it over my shoulder. "It's my equipment. For my business. Not yours." I moved to the front door, pulling the key ring from my pocket. The apartment key glinted under the hallway light. I slid it off, set it on the entry table. Then I opened my phone, logged into the utility accounts, still tied to my name: electric, water, high-speed internet. One by one, I transferred billing to Dad's email, effective immediately. The credit card app was last. I removed authorized users, locked the account. Nash muttered something about overreacting, but I was already halfway down the stairs. Dylan caught me at the car, hoodie pulled up against the chill. "They're freaking out in there? Printer's down, internet's gonna cut any minute." I loaded the case into the trunk, closed it with a firm thud. He waited for more, but I just got in, started the engine and drove away. No explanation, no second chances. The machine sat secure in the back, ready for tomorrow's client deadline. Back home, I set it up on my desk, ran a test print, a sleek logo prototype for the brewery project. Smooth layers, perfect calibration. My phone stayed silent after Dylan's last message, no follow-ups from anyone else. The apartment utilities would lapse soon. I'd seen the pattern before when payments skipped. Nash's Etsy side hustle died with the printer, his crash pad suddenly less convenient. I saved the new files, backed up to the cloud, and poured fresh coffee. Work waited, and for once, no distractions pulled me away. The next morning, my inbox exploded. Notifications flooded in from Instagram, forwarded emails, even missed calls from numbers I hadn't seen since graduation. Mom posted a grainy selfie at sunrise, eyes, red-rimmed caption, "Lost a daughter to pride tonight. Pray for our family." She tagged me directly and every relative in the group chat, the one I'd muted but never exited. The post racked up 40 likes fast, mostly distant cousins, her grocery store co-workers, a few high school acquaintances who barely knew me. Comments rolled in heart emojis. "So sorry, Pamela," one aunt suggesting a family counselor. I scrolled once, felt my pulse quicken, then forced myself to stop. Sarah, my old sophomore roommate, texted a screenshot first. Mom had DM'd her, "I'm worried Melody's having a breakdown. She cut us off cold. Can you check on her?" Sarah replied with confused emojis, then sent it to me. "WTF is going on?" I thanked her briefly, gave no details, and archived the chat. "Jake, A guy I'd dated for 2 months junior year forwarded the post with "You good," I left it unread. The group chat vibrated endlessly. I caught fragments before killing notifications. Uncle Ray kids these days don't appreciate sacrifice. Cousin Lisa, call her Pam. Nash stayed silent, likely because his Etsy plans died without electricity. Dad commented under Mom's post profile picture, still that faded fishing photo. At least Dylan knows loyalty, stays and helps where he can. Dylan hadn't reacted, no like or reply. I imagined him in his room door shut, earbuds in, dodging the storm. The post went public, shared to Mom's neighborhood Facebook alternative, then a local parenting group. Views hit 300 by noon. I refreshed, new comment from Mom's shift lead, sending hugs to you and John. I locked the screen, set the phone aside, and opened my design software. A client email waited, feedback on the brewery rebrand. I adjusted the color palette, refined the script font, pushed pixels until the noise faded. Another message pinged, a rush job offer for a fintech app icon set. Double the usual rate, 3-day turnaround. I countered with add-ons for variations, locked it in. The family circus receded with every layer I built. Midday, Emily from study group sent another screenshot. Mom had messaged her too, melodies spiraling. Please reach out if you hear from her. Emily asked if I wanted company or quiet. I chose quiet. Afternoon brought more forwards. A high school friend, now a teacher, sent Mom's post with "This you." I replied with a thumbs up, nothing else. The post crossed 500 views, comments shifting to prayer chains and scripture quotes. Dad added, "Family sticks together through thick and thin. Hope she sees that soon." I didn't bite. No defense, no clarification. The usual knot in my stomach after their manipulation attempts loosened. No more surprise charges, no equipment vanishing into their ventures. I ordered pad thai extra chili and ate while exporting high-res files. Phone on airplane mode, world muted. Evening settled in. I ran a final proof on the brewery labels, uploaded to the client portal, watched the acceptance ping. Payment processed instantly, direct to my account, no detours. The post hit 800 views, but the urgency faded. Their narrative wasn't my burden. I stretched, cracked open a beer from the fridge, and sketched ideas for the fintech icons. Lines flowed clean, ideas sharp. For the first time, their chaos couldn't touch my workflow. Relief wasn't just absence of guilt, it was space to build something solely mine. A week later, Aunt June's name lit up my screen. I answered on the second ring, her voice crisp from years handling divorce filings and estate disputes. "What's going on with the family?" No small talk, straight to it. I leaned against the kitchen counter, laid everything out, the rent. I'd stopped the joint card, I'd locked the printer I'd reclaimed after Nash turned it into his personal factory. She listened without interrupting, only a soft hum when I mentioned the utility switch. When I finished, silence stretched for a beat. Then, "Hold on, I'm forwarding something." My email pinged. Subject: FW Loan Agreement, 2012. The original sender was Aunt May, Mom's younger sister, a quiet accountant who'd moved to Florida after the fallout. The body was a scanned contract, $12,000 loaned to Mom and Dad for a small online craft business that never launched. Interest terms, repayment schedule starting 6 months later, none of it honored. May's note at the bottom: final notice before legal action. No response received. Aunt June added her own line: "They ghosted her. Cut contact completely. Same playbook." I read it twice, zooming on the signatures. Mom's looping cursive, Dad's blocky print. The date stamped right after I'd started my first full-time design job out of college. May had helped them, then bailed them out of a similar hole. They'd promised the world, delivered nothing, and vanished from her life. Aunt June came back on the line. "Pattern repeats, kid. They did this to May, now you. Document every transfer, every text. When they push for that sit down, and they will show the proof." I saved the PDF to a new folder labeled Evidence, password protected it, and backed up to an external drive. Aunt June rattled off advice like a checklist: change bank logins, run credit reports, consider a cease and desist if harassment ramps up. Her firm tone grounded me: no pity, just strategy. "You're not the villain for protecting your future," she said before hanging up. The call ended, but the email burned in my mind. May had trusted them once, believed the sob stories about bad luck and fresh starts. I'd done the same for years, funneling money into their black hole. Work pulled me back: a client revision on the fintech icon, subtle gradient tweaks for mobile screens. I implemented changes while the history sank in. $12,000 in money from many years ago, adjusted for inflation. Closer to 16 now. May had never mentioned it to me, probably to spare family drama. Aunt June only dug it up because the cycle spun again. I printed the email, slipped it into a manila folder with bank statements I'd started compiling. The upcoming meeting loomed inevitable as tax season. They'd frame it as reconciliation, but I'd bring receipts. Evening crept in. I cooked simple pasta, ate at the table instead of the desk, letting the quiet settle. No notifications, no guilt pings. The folder sat closed on the counter, ready. Aunt June texted once: call if they escalate. I replied with a thumbs up. Sleep came easier, mind sharp with purpose. Their pattern had a paper trail now, and I held the map. Saturday noon, the diner smelled like burnt coffee and regret. I slid into the corner booth where 8 faces waited: Dad, Mom, Dylan, Aunt June, my 2 cousins, and an uncle who'd driven in from Dayton. Grease sizzled on the grill behind the counter, plates clinking as the waitress refilled waters. The vinyl seat stuck to my jeans. A fly buzzed near the ketchup bottle. Dad cleared his throat first, napkin twisted in his fist. "We're here to fix this. You help until we're stable again, like always." Mom nodded, eyes pleading under mascara smudges. "Just temporary melody. Bills are piling, landlords calling daily." One cousin scrolled Instagram under the table, volume low. The other drummed fingers on his glass. Dylan stared at his menu, jaw tight, silent. Aunt June sat beside me, briefcase on the bench like a shield. I pulled the printed email from my folder, slid it across the formica with a soft scrape. Before any temporary talk read this, Dad unfolded it slowly, brow furrowing at the 2012 header from Aunt May. Mom leaned over, voice dropping to a whisper. "That was different. We were starting fresh craft site, remember?" The uncle skimmed the page, whistled low through his teeth. 12 grand, you never paid her back." May was family. Aunt June cut in calm, legal tone. "Not a cent." She sent 3 certified letters, ignored. May cut contact completely after that. Nash squeezed at the end between the wall, and Dylan snatched the paper with greasy fingers. "This is ancient history. We need help now. Eviction's real." He stood abruptly, chair scraping loud against tile. "You think waving some old email fixes the notice taped to the door?" Heads turned from nearby tables. I stayed seated, voice even. "It shows the pattern. I'm done funding repeats." Dad tried reasoning, palms open. "Family supports. Family. 1 more month, that's all, get me interviews." Nash paced the narrow aisle, boots heavy on the floor. "You took the printer, killed my income stream. Selfish move." The waitress hovered with a coffee pot, sensed tension, retreated to the counter. Mom reached across, fingers brushing my sleeve. "We're scared, honey. Lights off 3 days, fridge empty, Dylan eating campus scraps." I pulled back gently. "You had options. Sell the club's cut, Amazon, Dad's apps. You chose this." Nash slammed his palm flat on the table, silverware jumping, water glasses sloshing. "Options. Without your cash cow, we're sunk, literally on the street." Aunt June warned, low eyes, sharp. "Watch the tone, Nash." He ignored her, rounded on me, face red. "You walk out that dinner like a drama queen, steal equipment worth 3 grand, cut utilities cold. Now lecture us on choices." The uncle tried mediating, voice raised. Everyone calmed down, lower voices. A family at the next booth gathered kids and left. Too late. Nash kicked the booth leg hard. Wood cracked with a sharp snap frame splintering. He stormed toward the exit shoulder, bumping a stool door banging open, bell jingling wild in protest. No one followed. The cousins avoided eye contact. Silence fell heavy, thicker than the friar smoke. Dad folded the email neatly, set it down like evidence in court. We didn't mean for it to go this far. Bad bet's bad timing. Mom dabbed her eyes with a napkin mascara streaking. Can't we start over? You're our rock. Dylan finally spoke, voice soft but clear. She's right about the pattern, same story since I was 10. One cousin muttered about gas money for the drive home, checked his wallet. The other sighed, pushed away his half-eaten fries. Aunt June gathered her briefcase, clicked it shut. Meeting's over unless someone apologizes genuinely. No one did. Dad stared at the table rings. Mom sniffled into her sleeve. Dylan looked out the window at passing traffic. I stood, slung my bag over my shoulder, voice steady. Call when you're ready to own it, all of it. Walked out without another word, gravel crunching under tires as I left the lot. The drive home cleared my head. Sun glinted off the dashboard. I cracked the window, let highway air whip through. No apologies, no concessions, just the same script with higher stakes eviction looming like a storm cloud. I merged onto I-70 radio low on a classic rock station, mind already shifting to Monday's client pitch, fintech icons, tight deadline, big payout. Their booth drama faded in the rearview, diner sign shrinking to a dot. Boundaries held firm. The road ahead was mine. 10 days later, the landlord taped the eviction notice. Dylan sent a shaky video from the parking lot, red sheet flapping on the door, new deadbolt gleaming. By afternoon, movers in orange vests hauled belongings to the curb, the sagging gray couch with coffee stains, Mom's cracked china hutch, Dad's boxed golf clubs gathering dust since the course membership lapsed. A light rain started. Tarps went up half-heartedly. Passers-by slowed some filming for neighborhood groups. The complex manager cited code, missed rent, triggered immediate lockout, no grace period. Dad's silver pickup vanished next. The repair shop on 5th Street held a $4,000 lean brakes transmission tires he'd deferred for fantasy bets. Tow truck arrived at sunrise. He watched from the sidewalk in slippers, phone dead. He shuffled to a high school buddy's split-level in German Village air mattress in the basement, promising just a few weeks. The buddy's wife set ground rules: no gambling apps on the Wi-Fi, chores for rent. Dad nodded, but the betting forums stayed bookmarked. Mom scraped tip money for a room at the Route 40 motel, faded sign, hourly rates advertised in neon. She lasted 7 nights complaining to the front desk about the couple next door, the ice machine clanging at 3 a.m. When cash dried, she called a second cousin in Cincinnati who'd once offered a spare bedroom in emergencies. The basement smelled of mildew. She took the pull-out couch, folded laundry for pocket change. Her cashier name tag went into a drawer. Cleaning houses paid under the table, no benefits. Dylan boxed textbooks and clothes, sublet a cramped dorm single from a dropout. He layered shifts, 5 a.m. espresso pulls at the Union Cafe, 4 p.m. shelf stocking at the Supercenter off Sawmill. Paychecks covered ramen bus fare and the last 2 semesters' tuition gap. He applied for work study in the design lab, earned extra tutoring freshman in Photoshop. No sob stories, just spreadsheets tracking every dollar. 6 months blurred into milestones. I refined the app, nightly vector tools, drag and drop branding kits, cloud sync. Beta users grew from 50 to 500 through Reddit threads and indie forums. A Columbus startup accelerator accepted my deck. Demo day landed seed funding from 2 angels who loved the subscription pivot. I hired a developer in Austin, a marketer from Cleveland. Office space in Short North became a war room of whiteboards and cold brew. Revenue crossed 20 grand monthly. Press mentions followed. Chicago called with a bigger round. I signed a lease on a West Loop loft, exposed brick floor-to-ceiling windows, skyline view. Team expanded to 8. The app hit the app stores, new and noteworthy downloads spiked. I mentored at a Women in Tech meetup paid forward the hustle. Old freelance clients migrated to enterprise plans. My calendar filled with keynotes, not guilt trips. Birthday mail brought mom's card floral border Hallmark verse. The note inside spanned 2 pages. We're proud, but struggling. Your success could lift us all. Even a small loan. No acknowledgement of the eviction, the loan to Aunt May, the diner standoff. I photographed the pages, archived them in the evidence folder, then replied, "No apology, no contact." Blocked the sender, the return address, every alias. Dad's basement stay calcified. The buddy's wife found betting slips in the trash, issued an ultimatum. He moved to a studio above a bar, bartending weekends for tips. Mom's cleaning route expanded to office parks, knees aching on tile floors. Nash couch surfed through 3 states, Etsy account suspended for non-delivery. Their safety net had vanished. Reality bit hard. Dylan graduated with honors, landed a junior designer role at a boutique agency downtown. I covered his cap and gown fee quietly, watched the ceremony stream from Chicago. He texted thanks, nothing more. Kindness without boundaries trains takers. I stopped being the endless supply. Thanks for writing this story to the finish. Your attention is gold. Drop a comment. What boundary changed your life? Like, subscribe, share your take. We're building a community here.